All right, you guys, welcome to the show, and let's get into the much anticipated Kong versus Godzilla film that just released last week. And thanks to everybody who already watched this montage. We're going to get into this today and break this down. So, let me give you the backdrop of what's going on with this. Some of you aren't into these kind of films, and that's fine. But there's a lot to learn from these kinds of films because what they are really depicting are the Titans. They're depicting the sin against the reptiles, the animals, and the birds that happened in the Book of Enoch. So the film opens with King Kong inside of a firmament. And this story is running alongside of Godzilla attacking a base, which in the series is out of character for him, since in the last film he was the friend of humanity, not the enemy. So they can't understand why Godzilla attacks this base. And then shortly after that, Kong is released from his firmament-covered island to basically lead the way to Middle Earth, or the Hollow Earth. And somehow this is supposed to stop Godzilla from attacking, these bases and things. Let's play the first part of this. This is crazy. Now, there's a lot more to this backstory, but this will be enough to get us started with this decode. So, as you saw, the film opens with Kong locked in Skull Island in what appears to me to be the inner eye Earth model. And we're going to get into that. I got a video that I put together for you guys on the inner eye Earth model. We're going to go into deep detail. We're going to break down the subterranean fortress underneath our feet, from which the waters of the flood came forth. We're going to talk about all that today. Now, you saw Kong pull a tree from the ground, and he launches it into the dome firmament, which is made of packed hexagonal pieces, similar to the column basalt tree stumps that we see all over the planet. Now, what makes this extraordinary is that we have been talking about these hexagonal tree stumps being portals to and through the firmament and into the garden. We've been talking about this since 2017, and now we see it again. We saw it also in the Hunger Games when Katniss shoots her arrow into the firmament. Now, remember in that scene in the Hunger Games, her arrow was attached to a cord. Remember that? Well, that's the hyaloid canal of the inner eye anatomy. And just like Kong threw his tree up into the firmament, that was also the hyaloid canal, the hyaloid artery connecting ground to the firmament. Now, these were the trees to the garden, and I'm going to show you that. And Adam was cut off from the garden. Remember that? When Adam and Eve were cut off and evicted from the garden, they were banished to lower earth, out of the garden. Let's keep playing this here. Now, what you're going to notice here is the as above, so below, around the rim of this dome. And inside is Kong. And when he threw that tree into the firmament, it damaged it. Now, they release Kong from the firmament and take him to an Antarctic portal that leads to the Hollow Earth, or the Middle Earth, people call it. says the hollow earth aerial vehicle. There's the portal. Now, remember this scene, because this, I believe, is the iris, the pupil, and it's constricted. This is the gate to the earth below. And there's our spiral portal we've been talking about for several years now. Portals are spirals. And notice how this very closely resembles the iris, and we're going to get into that in a second here. But basically, they take Kong down to this Antarctic portal, and they follow him down into the hollow earth. And here's where Kong finds his origin. He is a Titan. Now, let's make sure you guys are here before we continue on with this. Let's keep going.
Let the passion soak up my tears and watch the only way out disappear. Don't tell me why. Kiss me
So the book of Enoch talks about what the fallen angels did to God's creation. It says they sinned against the reptiles, the birds, and other animals. And what I believe happened, and what I believe that means, is that they were converted into these gargantuan abominations of the flesh. The result were massive creatures, dinosaurs, large birds, everything was supersized. Now think about what that means, and how Kong descends into the lower earth. And this is where the fossil fuels, we're told, are, right? In the middle or hollow earth. So the question becomes, is there really a large void beneath the earth? Logical question, right? Well, what does the Bible tell us? Where did the flood come from? Well, according to the Bible, the deluge came from underground. There were massive amounts of water coming up from out of the earth. Where did that come from? Obviously, it was being held in large caverns or voids in a hollow earth. Now, the Bible calls these fountains of the deep. And what would remain after these waters shot forth from the middle of the earth? We would be left with vast, empty caverns, a hollow earth. And who is in those hollow caverns now? Well, I can imagine that they would probably be inhabited by dark spirits and evil. And I'm wondering if the place of Sheol mentioned in the Bible, or hell, could be this place. I don't know that. I don't know if that lines up with what the Bible says. But you have to ask yourself, the judgment tool, the water port. Remember, water is a portal. The tool of judgment coming up out of the earth to kill them, and then their spirits being buried in the earth. You never know. Now in the film, Kong leads the humans down into the hollow earth, as you saw right there, and he finds his origin, and he finds his throne, the throne of his ancestors, the kings of the titans that ruled this lower hollow earth. And around his throne, a blue Ouroboros forms. And this reveals the truth about where he is. He's in hell. And it also reveals the truth about how he was created through some kind of abomination, the sin of the fallen angels.
This used to be maybe the tree that reached to heaven, the tree of life that connected us to the garden. We are now cut off from the garden. We're cut off from.
So these were my words in 2017 in describing the tree that came up out of earth. And there were many trees in the garden, but this is the tree of life. We've been cut off from it. And this was back in 2017, or maybe even earlier. And now we're going to look at the physical anatomic makeup of the eyeball. I've got a video pulled up for that. But listen to these words back in 2017. And as it relates to Kong versus Godzilla, as well as Hunger Games. And remember the arrow that Katniss shot up into the firmament.
To be maybe the tree that reached to heaven, the tree of life that connected us to the garden. We are now cut off from the garden. We're cut off from the stars. Book of Enoch says each of us have a star in heaven, and we are connected to that star. Now you know what enter the stars means. And I didn't know, I had not the foggiest idea when I chose that name that I would discover all this years later.
Now, of course, I didn't discover any of this, right? These are inspirations of the Holy Spirit. These are the things that God wants you to see so you can understand the makeup of our reality. Now, let's get into this video I put together, this eye model. And this is amazing because it appears to me that we see a pocket which is below the eye that is filled with water. It's called the aqueous humor. I believe these were the fountains of the deep. And this hole here is where the spaceship flew into. This is your pupil. Except it was constricted in the Kong film. Spaceship flew in there, following Kong down. Now I rearranged the orientation of this so that you could see what we're looking at. Now for years, I've been showing you guys the lens of the eye as the surface of the earth. This is what I thought originally, and it still could be the case. But what if the iris is the surface of the earth down here? Here's the iris. It's here. You're seeing a side view of it, so it looks, it's like it's a circular, like a donut. And in the middle is the pupil, which when constricted forms a circular flat plane. What if the iris is the surface and the lens here becomes the firmament, the crystalline firmament? Now watch this. This is crazy. Now these are the musculature which control the flexing of the lens. And you can see it here. And so I'm wondering if we are either on this iris or in the bottom of the lens, which can either form a bowl or be flat. And if that was the case, then outside the firmament in this another body of water, this would be the upper waters, the upper heavens, because there are lower and upper waters, right? There's no water in the sky. It's outside the firmament. And there is real water in here. It's called the vitreous humor. Got aqueous humor down here, vitreous humor there. So the planets, the sun, the moon, everything we see in the sky is probably floating around up here in the upper waters, inaccessible because we can't get outside the lens. And that would put the garden just beyond the upper water. So it would be in the sidewall. And there are actually real fruits all along this sidewall in the vault of the eye. You're going to see that now. Now again, I flipped the orientation of some of these videos so you could get an idea of what I'm trying to show you here. Now, these objects release water into the aqueous humor. See the water coming? That could be the ice wall there. This lines the rim of the lens of your eye. This could be like Antarctica. And there are the waters, the lower waters flowing down. And I believe what you're looking at here is like hell. This is the aqueous humor. See this? These are the lower waters. We're looking at the bottom side of Earth. The iris becomes the ground, so to speak. These are all these waters flowing that came up and flooded the Earth. And there they are. Underneath the iris here would be your Earth here. And this is a hole. You can't see it because it's like a side view. And this would be like the firmament. And shortly here, you're going to see the fruits of the garden connected by a tree. Where's the tree? This is a good diagram. This actually shows you, zoom this in a bit. This would be Earth. That's the hole they went through down into hell, which was the hollow Earth. So this is Earth here. This is a dilated pupil, obviously, but when this constricts, it's a small hole. This would be the firmament here. This would be the upper waters. And then the fruit lines the outside here. See the water in there? This is what we call the inner eye model of the universe. Here are the fruits. These are called bipolar cells, rods and cones, and ganglion. Casey, those don't look anything like fruit. Well, grapes, figs, and pomegranates come to mind when looking at the structures of the eye wall. Here's another video that shows this would be your firmament here. The Earth would be the iris, pupil, lower waters. This is where he was. Kong was down there in this vaulted cavern. Now, these are images of cross-sections of the actual rods and cones. So this would be the eye wall, which would be back here. This eye wall here. They're all filled with rods, cones, grapes, figs, and pomegranates, ganglion, and bipolar cells. Okay? So when you look at this cross-section here, that looks a lot like the firmament. So that's a second firmament if we're looking at this from that perspective. Well, Casey, what about the lens of the eye? What does it look like inside? Well, you're about to see. This is going to confirm it for a lot of you because you're going to see the same packed hexagonal honeycomb matrix, which would be just like the firmament that Kong threw the tree at. So what would the pupil be then? Well, the pupil would be the gate to hell, or the gate to the lower waters, the black hole in the center of earth, somewhere where the demons descend back into hell. These are all things that come to mind. And an open, dilated pupil may have been where the lower waters came out from the deep for the flood. So in this diagram here, we're looking at the bottom underside of the ground. And how the waters circulate from above to below. Then they come back up. And they go into the bloodstream, according to science. So Kong was down here when he went down to the hollow earth. He passed either through the pupil or one of these drainage canals that you saw on the side here. This would be like the ice wall around the ring here. And it's actually called a canal of some kind. But it forms a wall around Earth here. So we're looking up from above. So imagine you're Kong down in the hollow earth looking up. Now here's where things get interesting, because this is a cross-section of the actual crystalline lens. They call it a crystalline lens, and it has a hexagonal packed matrix. Is this the firmament? Now, of course, these hexagonal packed matrices that you see here are also beneath our feet in real life. They are the column basalt structures. Amazing. So, where is the tree of life? Well, we've showed you videos of that. That would be back here.
Not the foggiest idea when I chose.
This is the hyaloid canal. It is like a tree trunk or a tree stump when it was cut off, right? This was the tree of life going up to the garden, and the limbs of this form the retina. The retina falls around this on the inner walls here, and it looks exactly like a tree coming up, down, and around. And then it's filled with fruit because the branches of the retina are all along this wall, and inside them are the rods, cones, ganglion, and bipolar cells, which form the fruit, the grape, figs, and pomegranates of the tree of life. We're cut off. We have to get back through these upper waters, through the narrow gate. How do we get through the narrow gate? Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Yahuwah, Yahushua, whatever you want to call him, he is the only one. He knows who we're addressing when we call out to him. We are imperfect humans. So this is it. This is what I believe that we're at with this, you guys. The eye actually tells us the shape of the universe, and we are at its center. Let's go back into the chat here. Let this catch up. Say hello to all of you guys. Thanks everyone for showing up today. And tomorrow, believe it or not, they're trying to now tell us, I couldn't even believe it when I read the story, that we don't have to worry anymore about surfaces and cleaning things, because you can't catch CV-19 from surfaces anymore. They actually quoted 1 in 10,000 chance of catching it from a surface. So now they're saying, after $1 trillion has been spent in cleaning products and, antibacterial soaps and all the things that they got rich off of, right? Remember we covered that? Unilever, we covered the Koch brothers and the toilet paper and all the things that they got rich off of, fearing all of us. Now they're saying all that gets to end. So we were right in the very beginning. We told everyone this was hogwash, and you can't catch it like that if it's anything at all. And we were looking at everyone strangely because they were all wearing gloves and wiping everything down and spraying decontamination. I mean, what is wrong with us? And so now they're admitting it. But do you think that they're going to apologize to us for there were channels that were actually deleted because they were saying exactly what they're saying now. They were saying back then the channels were deleted for spreading misinformation. So we're going to talk about all that tomorrow. We're going to do some CV19 updates. And then after that, we got more decode scheduled for the week. Now, directly after this show, we actually have another decode that I put together about how the film's Invasion of the Body Snatchers seemed to foreshadow the mass Vaca Nation that's going on right now. 1 billion doses. And so I've got some clips from those films, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, showing them loading all these pods up in trucks, distributing them to all the cities of the world. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So I'll see you guys over in that live show in about 30 minutes. It's actually going to be a premiere. So hopefully you guys all transfer over to that. I put a link in this pinned chat here. So you can just click right on this link after we're done here. I love each and every one of you. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys over there.